couple of years we played them in about the middle of the schedule and in the very last game. And last couple of years, even with the snow game last year, the games have been very close time-wise. The game that Rivers made the big shot here at the very end, and then 2 weeks later, I think, it was a totally different thing. But where it falls on the schedule, unless it's a time period where you don't have a guy and then you get a guy back. But by this time of the year, you know your own club pretty well. Well, you're talking about a guy who's 6'11", 270 is what I heard one of the tapes, one of the commentators make on the broadcast of the game I was watching last night. So he's a load, but he's very gifted. He's got great feet, great hands, turns to either shoulder. He's got touch when he turns, shooting 66% from the floor and probably 64% in the ACC play where the competition is really good. So it makes you have to make some allowances for him. And I said earlier today, I think offensively they have the best balance of any team in college basketball because they can score inside and they've got terrific three-point shooters, and that may make them more difficult to guard than anybody. He's very gifted, very strong, explosive. Scary is not a bad word, but our entire defense has got to be aware of that. JP's got to be aware of that. Justin's got to be aware of that. We're going to have a little guy on him sometimes. They've got to be aware of that as well. But when you talk about the really good Duke teams, and this is one of them, I mean, they got 4 guys averaging in double figures, and so you got to guard everybody. Yesterday we had a pretty decent practice. We showed them some clips where we have to do better, and we showed them some clips where we did some good things, and yet it wasn't good enough. And I think that's part of the learning process too. We've probably shown this team more clips from games than we have any in the last 3 or 4 years at least, and because I think it's still part of the learning process with this group. The students, at Cameron, they are off the charts, but I've been back 12 years, I've never had anything that they've said or did that bothered me. They just cheer like crazy for their team, and I'd like to see one of those shirts and the whole bit, but I think that just says some things about 2 things. One, the biggest one, is the respect that Coach Smith had everywhere. You may not have cheered for him, or he wasn't coaching your school, but the respect that he had was just unmatched. And then the other thing, I think this is a big-time rivalry, but it doesn't have to be hatred. You can still have a great rivalry.